Now. It doesn't get very loud.
Audience. Okay, hello. I'd like to present an issue to you. No matter what your religion, schools should be required to teach creationism and intelligent design along with the theory of evolution. Why, you may ask? Well, there are numerous reasons. For starters, some school systems already require this. They wouldn't just teach it for no reason, wasting the time and money to do all of this. And another convincing argument is the fact that if they did teach these things, it will give students options in what they do and don't believe. Some schools do a brief summary of other religions, so why not teach creationism and intelligent design as well? The United States of America was founded on the idea of freedom of religion, among other things. One can easily argue that this would be unconstitutional to teach things like this, but as long as they don't promote it, it is just suggested as merely a choice. As I said earlier, some schools teach some about religions mostly followed in other countries, such as Hinduism and Buddhism. If we Americans have the right to believe things without having our doors kicked in by angry men with AK-47s, we should also be presented with options on what we believe. This is impossible, or is rather unreasonable to do if we are only presented with one or two options. Like I said before, some schools already do require this, but I'm suggesting that it be federal law. The students ultimately decide what they believe, not their schools or parents. If a student is really faithful to a religion, their thoughts won't be swayed by this. What do you want?
Some schools only do that because they are like Christian schools or Catholic schools. Not all schools do it because some schools are public schools and they don't require that or allow that even.
Well, last year in social studies class, I specifically remember being handed a sheet of papers. I mean, like a big stack of papers. Brief overviews to other religions on them. So, if you're part of the opposing side, you're probably thinking of ways to prove me wrong. You probably have a series of questions to shamelessly interrupt me with. I'm going to answer some of these now, so sit down and be quiet. If you're going to say that people will be offended by this, I would say simply deal with it. The world is full of controversial things.
1 minute.
Most of which are much more important than this. If you were offended by the idea that I suggested at the beginning, let me ask you a question. Why? Are you afraid the school system is going to try to brainwash you and this will turn into a bad science fiction film? Just because something is suggested or merely talked about doesn't mean that you have to believe that it's true. If one of you were to say it is forcing a religion upon someone, I would simply remind you it's just a choice, not something that you have to believe.
Oh. Double whammy.
Wait. First of all, I think kids wouldn't even be able to believe what the teacher's saying anyway because a lot of teachers don't believe in religion. And therefore it wouldn't be nearly as effective.
It is not a choice because you have to go to school and you have to learn. Well, you don't have to learn, but you have to get the information and you have to go to school. That is the law.
Well, that issue that you bring up is addressed in the following paragraph.
Time's up.
That timing is wrong. Keep going.
But it was
Okay. If your science teacher were to say, okay class, today we're going to watch a video explaining what happens when we get bitten by venomous snakes. Would you go and find a venomous snake and put your finger in its mouth? Probably not. The school is not forcing you to do anything. What's to stop this student from starting their own religion and backing an old VW bus with flowers painted on the side? Nothing. Not even their parents. The student ultimately decides what they believe. If they are gullible enough to... What do you want?
Granted, they have that decision, but the problem with that is that they have to come to school and they're getting that information.
That issue is addressed later. And besides, you said that you don't really pay attention with Mr. Gandy was teaching about evolution, so you're not really in a position to comment about that.
Now you can time. What's 5 minutes?
I know, I accidentally.
Yeah, I know.
To sum up then,
Oh my God.
why would schools teach this? Give students options of what they believe, rather than just being confined to what their parents believe. It's not forcing anything, so I fail to comprehend where the offense comes from. It isn't like most of the students are going to pay attention anyway, because obviously a lot of you don't pay attention during class.
Science is the study of the natural world and how it works, and conclusions are made based upon physical evidence. Religion is the belief and worship of a superhuman controlling power. Two totally different realms, and when put together, controversy begins. One of the big questions is religion a science? Some say yes and some say no. Religion is based off of faith and belief, and there's practically nothing backing it up except for a word of mouth and a book that may or may not be accurate. Everything students hear about in science is cold hard facts to prove a point. There are four main theories of how the world began, and divine creation is one of them. If this were to put into every school's curriculum, we'd be teaching our children that one day God just molded a human figure in the dirt, literally blew life into him, and poof, human being. Soon, our next generation is going to be running around thinking that all sorts of magic are considered science and are real. If the teacher says something, most of the time the students believe it. Movies and books contain supernatural elements, and rather than getting people to believe that these crazy things are real, it would be easier to just blow over the subject. If they are two different subjects, that would complicate things a little more. You wouldn't teach calculus in the same classroom at the same time as you're teaching the Revolutionary War. It just doesn't work that way. There's also the matter of the information getting passed on properly. When a teacher teaches the chemical makeup of an atom, there's really nothing there to be opinionated, other than the fact that it may interest you or it may bore you. But lately, religion has been hotly debated. We have people that believe in a religion, the people who are full on against it, and people who just refuse to take sides. If you have an atheist teacher being forced to teach the students about God, who's to say that they will actually teach it? Christian beliefs are very delicate. As soon as you alter one little detail, everything you've previously said becomes a lie. That also goes with the Bible. As soon as one thing gets messed up, the whole thing is wrong. Hatred can do so much to a person, even if it means lying to students. Kids are being taught false information early on. It could go on impacting their views for the rest of their lives. If and when they figure it out, there will be a great amount of friction between the public and school systems. You don't even have to be an atheist for false information to be passed on. In order to have this information passed on in a proper manner, you need to have all teachers go through a class or training of some kind. Many teachers also don't believe in Christianity and thus don't really know the subject. They could also fumble on facts and mistranslate that way too. As students begin to mature and create opinions of their own, they begin to see all of the world's possibilities. What if they think that Buddhism is the path for them, or they want to become a Muslim? Are we really going to force children to sit through a lesson on divine creation if we aren't even sure that it's true? Same thing goes for parents. Most of them don't believe or have a different religion and don't want their children being exposed to this type of information. We have to respect the fact that parents want their children to be raised a certain way, and we do not have the right to go against their judgment, except of course in extreme situations. But this is not one of them. For the parents who are Christians and would like to see their children follow a similar lead, there are other options for them. Okay, that's fine if they want their children to know what happened at the beginning when God created the heavens and the earth, but do we really need to make everyone else's children sit through that lecture too? They most likely go to church every week, whether Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday, or any other day. Their children learn information there. Most churches have youth groups and praise bands and community services for older kids and teens to get involved in. There are also some private Christian schools that will give their children a solid foundation for their faith, and it will have a much greater chance of being taught accurately. It is also most likely in their curriculum, and many changes will not have to be made.